Alright guys, time to be back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Monday so far, and today we've got to talk about day 3 of the Paris Home Series. Florida Mutineers go back-to-back in crazy fashion at 12-3 map count this weekend. This is an era of dominance. Yes, it is online, that we haven't seen in a long time in Call of Duty, especially in the CDL, but also going back before that as well. This is a team that seems to be very, very dominant indeed right now. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down below, especially when we look forward to next event and towards the Call of Duty Championships coming up in a couple of months' time now, not too long away. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. Let's go into it then, because first of all, the semi-finals lined up like this. Mutineers, Subliners, Atlanta FaZe, Dallas Empire. But Mutineers did not have an easy road getting to the grand finals here, and to be honest, pretty much any team we've seen has got to get through some sort of game 5 to make it the distance, and well, they managed to make it work, but not in an easy fashion. Subliners come out firing in this one. They win the first map on Gunrunner, 250-208, which is pretty surprising to me, to be honest. Very impressive from the Subliners, because the only teams that seem to be really good at Gunrunner Hardpoint is Dallas Empire and Florida Mutineers, who have beat Dallas Empire a couple of times, but this time Subliners really taken it to them on this one. And then game 2, Ramaza, a map where Mutineers are very comfortable indeed. Subliners got the better of them 6-4, and it really looked like, you know, what's going on? Mutineers didn't really look like their former self. Then again, Subliners do have that ability to just flip a switch and be a phenomenal team. However, in well, Mutineers fashion, they managed to somehow win a series even from the depths of despair. They win a domination in crazy fashion. Like, this was super close. We saw Accuracy talking about this after the series, how there were some things which he felt should have gone differently in terms of how the spawns work and all this kind of stuff that gave Mutineers some sort of edge in the latter half of this game, but they win a very close one. Then game 4, I mean, you always knew where this was going, right? Ramaza Hardpoint. This is a map where Mutineers are just dominant on. They just crush any team they play on this map. So 250-133, take it to game 5, and then yeah, their game 5 search and destroy clutch factor has been solid as well. Like, they managed to do it right against Chicago Huntsman in the very first series they played as a new squad with Awakening in the team. That was on Ramaza search and destroy. This time it's on Arklov Peak, but they still managed to make it work. 6-3 in the end, and another reverse sweep on the weekend, this time against the Subliners at the hands of the Florida Mutineers. And at this point, you just felt like their momentum was too great to run over whoever they faced in the grand final, because whoever it was that they were going to be facing in the grand final was a team they'd already beaten with this new squad. So commiserations really to New York Subliners. Once again, they don't manage to make a grand finals, but yeah, it's very tough to get past Florida. Impressed they even got pretty close to achieving that feat. They were the only team this weekend to take Florida Mutineers to a game 5, which was very impressive. If we look at the overall series scoreboard, so let's make sure that's on screen. So yeah, Mac with a 1.2, Skies with a 1.1, and yeah, some lackluster slaying out of Frosty, but when the clutch factor was needed, they managed to make it work, which is just what's so impressive about the Mutineers. They seem to have multiple ways to win series, right? They can win a series by stealing a respawn and winning both search and destroys, but they can more commonly win a respawn and win a series by just crushing you in the respawns. And if they win a search and destroy, that also works as well, as they did in this one. But we see a slightly different flavour of Florida Mutineers when we get to the grand finals in a second here. So Accuracy tweets out, I never get over the fact that in this game, people will spawn at the same time, but in multiple different locations. How are you supposed to read that? So this is the image he shows from this domination. First 2 people on their team spawn blue van, then the next one spawn half wall, next one in pocket. They literally got progressively more pushed up spawns, one after another. We've seen something like this. So if you can see this, the mini-map down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you've got a couple of guys clearly spawning over this blue van. One guy top, one guy over in, I think, pocket he calls it, which is kind of crazy that this is how the spawns work in this game. You don't all spawn at the same place. You see this a lot on Ramaza as well, hardpoint on that rotation over to P4. when they get like crazy spawns over towards that bridge area, which don't really make too much sense. But that's Modern Warfare, baby. Thumbs up for Joe Seacott and the boys. And Accuracy says, CoD is at its best when there's consistency in situations and then those situations are perfected. This year, you can't master the situations because it's almost always just come down to a random expected or unexpected gunfight. And, well, a lot of pros are saying similarly in the replies as we'll look at in a second. But the second semi-final, Dallas Empire versus the Atlanta FaZe. FaZe. And this was a series where last time they played it went to a game 5, and well, you know, well, let's see what happened this time. Game number 1 as a cave, FaZe like just came out swinging in this one, and I was impressed really by how FaZe seemed to have bounced back and got some sort of better form, especially early in series, because they were looking in kind of some sort of dip of form. But beating Dallas M by 250 to 150 on this map is very impressive, and they also had a decent start to the series against the Subliners when they played a couple of days ago. But game 2, Dallas bounced back 6-4 in this search and destroy. Illy was a bit of a monster this map as well, but this was a map where they lost the game 5 where Atlanta reverse swept FaZe, or where Atlanta reverse swept Empire in the last tournament. This time Empire get the better of them 6-4, and then the domination 163 to 131. So yeah, Gunrunner domination not going Empire's way, which is pretty rare to be honest, because Gunrunner is definitely a comfortable map for them. But then Gunrunner again, you're not really going to beat a Dallas Empire team on Gunrunner hardpoint in my opinion, unless you are a very special team indeed. Atlanta FaZe are certainly a very special team indeed, but they managed to get the job done, Empire, to take it to a game 5. But of course, what can we expect? FaZe do it again, 6-4 on this Gunrunner hardpoint, despite how good Dallas Empire are on this map and how good they have been this entire week, this entire tournament on this map especially. I think the only team they've really lost to on this map the entire season is London Royal Ravens. However, FaZe in the game 5 is just undefeated, right? So they managed to get the job done. Like the last 6 tournaments, or the last 6 maps, sorry, that they have won, or last 6, what am I on about? The last 6 series that FaZe have won have all been won in a game 5 fashion, which is just incredible. They do it 6-4, 6-5 like every time, I swear. So I don't know what's wrong with FaZe, but when they're in a game 5, they just somehow make it work, even against a team that is as clutch as the Dallas Empire, who fall short once again. And this is how it looks. So once again, another game 5 victory for Atlanta FaZe. Kind of remarkable. Some great slaying out of these guys. Clayster the only one putting up quality numbers over at the Dallas Empire. And then Clayster comes out with the following tweets, though obviously I'm upset, and it's definitely not the reason we lost, but it's ridiculous the inconsistency the CDL has. We had red boxes, so red boxes are the things that appear on the top left hand corner of your screen when you're basically lagging to the servers. We had red boxes every map intermittently, and we were told after that we could switch to the server that we vetoed. So they vetoed a particular server location because that's not good for them where they're pinging to or whatever, and apparently they were told that they can just use that one. Well, we don't want to play on that one. That's the whole point that we vetoed it. We said red boxes at the very start of the game. It is what it is. I'm still playing below my standards and hope to improve that in the next month. Just wish there was something to play. I look for 10s every night and no pros are playing, so it's either scrims or the CDL playlist. Nowhere to improve. And Clayster and Slasher go on about, or Trey and Slasher go on about this one a little bit later on as well, and we'll probably have to talk about that in coming days. But it does come down to the grand finals then, Atlanta FaZe versus Florida Mutineers. And say what you want about online and inconsistency, once again it's the same 2 teams making it to the grand finals, right? And 3 of the same 4 teams from the last weekend's event that make it to the top 4, New York being the only new one. But Florida just come out with an unbelievable level of performance here, and 250 to 190 on this Gunrunner hardpoint. I mean, this was pretty good, but it really just staggered away from them. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, frankly. They made the reverse sweep happen against the New York Subliners, and against a team like FaZe, Florida just make them look like amateurs. And it is quite incredible to see how a team can be so good at not only breaking hills, but just their teamwork is off the charts. They're like a Minnesota from early on this season on steroids, right? Like the way these guys play is pretty remarkable. And then game 2 was Piccadilly. This was a crazy one because honestly, FaZe could have won this. There was accusations going around about Celium using like an aim assist glitch. We'll have a look at that in just a second here. But this last round, Priester was in well, effectively he had to ace the round to win it. He got 2 kills. It was a 3 versus 1, and the bomb was being defused. He hopped on top of the buses, destroyed Skies, and then if he just kills Awakening off the bomb, I think it was Awakening off the bomb, Havoc was the guy who finally took him down. But if he manages to get that bunny hop in properly and hits the shots, he could win that round, right? And that would have been a complete momentum changer. But losing that, it just felt like it was over for Atlanta FaZe, especially how good Mutineers are in domination, right? And we talk about Mutineers domination quite a lot, given that Skies last weekend had like a 1.8 in that game mode, and Ferrer is very good at that one as well. But I wasn't expecting the absolute battering that we were going to see in game 3, because it's very rare you see a tournament conclude in a manner like this. But indeed it did. 235, you are not reading that wrong. This was not a hard point that ended early. 235 to 70 in domination, and yes, okay, for the last few minutes it was mathematically impossible already, so Atlanta FaZe basically gave up, and Mutineers got a lot more points than maybe they would have done if FaZe were trying 100%, but still was an incredible first half. So Mutineers win the tournament in a 3-0 fashion. I thought it was interesting because the first time FaZe won their home series at their own home event. It was Florida they were facing in the grand finals, a different Florida team with Pristini on the squad at the time, but I think it was Pristini on that team at the time, but they won in a 3-0, comfortable in the grand finals. This time Florida managed to get their revenge, 3-0ing FaZe in the grand finals, 3-1 them last weekend. You know, it's just remarkable how good this team is. And look at the slang, 1.5 for ThiRADE, 1.2 for Frosty, 1.15, 1.9 for Skies over the series. Like, what is that about? Just the domination KD's absolutely out of this world. So, Florida get the job done. This was the scoreline, as I said here. It's a domination, but it almost looked like it was a different mode. RCD's Selim is currently getting aim assist to a wall to see if someone is pushing. That's talent. Just talking about the state of the game, but also it's kind of, well, I'll share the clip for you guys on screen right now. I think it's probably kind of exploiting a game mechanic if you're deliberately swiping your aim back and forth over this area to get aim assist through this wall. If you've played this map, you'll probably know that you do get aim assist through this wall somewhat. But yeah, deliberately abusing it is maybe a little bit of a step too far in my opinion, but you know, maybe you guys have a different opinion. And then we get the tweets coming out, right? So Modern Warfare, worst COD ever created. It hasn't been deleted right from Slack, so you know, incredible from him managing not to delete this. Maybe he's just going to suck up the fine and take it as it is, I suppose. And Skies came out with this, a since deleted video, because I think for some reason you're not allowed to like record the games where you're playing. I'm not exactly sure what the reason is for that, but he comes out with this screenshot here of him holding up his controller, showing that he's not using a Cronus, so thought that was quite entertaining. And Florida go back to back, so just a remarkable team to say that this squad is if at the start of the season you said this was going to be the first team to win 3 championships, I wouldn't really have believed you, but that's the case, right? And yes, okay, they might be a fantastic online team, as Mutineers says here, CDL switches to online play, Mutineers build a team that's got online, everyone waits, that's illegal. So I'm intrigued to see what happens at champs here, but right now they're clearly the best team, they're playing the game fundamentally the best, and as I say, for all everyone wants to talk about how bad the game is, I'm not denying it isn't, but an inconsistencies and all this kind of stuff, it's the same teams in the grand finals, it's the same team dominating the series, it's the same team winning the championships. This is what it looks like in terms of KD, and if your KDs are looking like this on your team, you know, there's something wrong for the competition, right? 1.42 for Skies, 1.24 for Awakening, and also Pharaoh is here at a 1.19. Like, what do Frosty and Havoc even have to do at that point if that's the slang you're getting out of your team? And this is the overall scoreboard right now for the CDL. So FaZe, Mutineers, Huntsman, Empire, all away from the field, right? So FaZe still in first place. It's pretty remarkable they've managed to win as many series as they have recently with all these game 5s. But Mutineers take the championship, so they move up to second place ahead of the Huntsman. 1 and 2 are very crucial for standings at champs because they get all the way to winners round 3 automatically. 3rd and 4th only get to winners round 2. Not the biggest deal, but something of a big deal. It looks like these 4 teams are probably going to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. To be honest, I don't imagine any other team is managing to catch them, so it's probably just a race to get out of the bottom 4, because if you're in the bottom 4 you start in the losers bracket at champs, which is certainly not what you want. And this is the next event, so Paris, Toronto, Atlanta, LAG, London, Chicago, New York, Minnesota, no Florida to dominate this one. 10th and 12th of July, so we've got a couple of weekends off now. I'm sure many topics to talk about in between these 2 events. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new, as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
What is this fight? Wait. Wait! What? He ran them both over! He just waited for him to fight and they both got the bumper! Are you kidding me?